Ladies and gents, welcome to CG and this is Democrats humiliated after begging to release Maduro. Watch out, Brandon Lehman. Yeah, people told me I should watch this one. I guess this is, I'm guessing, more pro-Republican than pro-Democrat. I don't know. We'll see what's this about. Yeah, there is this mixed feeling going on in USA, like it is always, I'm guessing. A lot of people obviously like this. A lot of Venezuelan likes this because, yeah, Maduro was a dictator, right? But yeah, most, even like left-wing Democrats, some of them are even admitting like, yeah, in the end, this is kind of a good thing because Maduro's not in power type of shit, right? I don't know. I don't know what this is going to be about. I don't know what Democrats literally begged. Like, let go of Maduro. They said that. Because if you condemn, like, okay, USA shouldn't do this, that's one thing. Trump shouldn't abuse his power, that's one thing. Then, like, okay, since you got him, release him. Like, what is that going to do now? I don't know. That's just weird. Let's watch this one.
Democrats lost the entire Hispanic vote for a generation. Radical, self-righteous white liberals have been protesting across the country, demanding Nicolas Maduro be released, even clashing with and trying to silence Venezuelans who are celebrating Nicolas Maduro being arrested. And the message could not be clearer. Democrats aren't just pro-illegal alien. They're not just pro-Somali fraudster. They're not just pro-criminals terrorizing our city streets. They are pro-narco dictator who starves his own people. As always, like the video and subscribe to the channel, but let's start with seeing Nicolas Maduro getting perp-walked into the DEA office in New York City.
Man, look at that. He's in hoodie. Venezuela is near the equator, isn't it? Is it? I think it is, right? Wait a minute, is it near the equator? I don't know, I'm confused. But yeah, it's more closer to the equator than New York is. Is he cold? What is the temperature in Venezuela? That's why he's probably wearing a hoodie. DEA, NYD, okay. Rule of law. There you go.
Night. Happy New Year.
That was one of the most badass things I've ever seen. Make sure you smash the like button. Only our president could do that. In 2024, Maduro lost.
That is kind of true, though, when you really think about it. Only US and Delta Force can kind of do this. Like, other countries can do this. China, Russia. But there'll be a lot of killing and explosions and chaos and week of work before this would even happen. I think Russia tried to do this with Ukraine, didn't happen.
An election and refused to relinquish power. And Democrats across the board condemned him and called for him to be removed from power. In fact, Joe Biden raised the bounty on Nicolas Maduro to $25 million.
Yeah, what the fuck
he
is that
even
then?
let in 600,000 Venezuelans because Maduro was so oppressive and dangerous. But now, since Donald Trump was the one to solve the problem,
Yeah, what's that about? If Biden did that, how does Democratic Party even defends? Okay, you can say like Trump shouldn't have done this. This is like a political incident. You can have some way of saying that, sure. If you're the one, your party and your president, Democrat president, raise the bounty, how do you defend like we want Maduro to be released? How do you even defend that? I mean, you know, in my reactions, I said that like, okay, on principle, US is just going and snatching someone's like leader. Obviously, people told me that he wasn't legal. Regardless, he was acting president, whether it was legal or not. It's kind of like a weird thing. And, you know, like for future, like trying to be a world police is kind of a problem because you can't tell someone to do something like, oh, this is not good. You shouldn't do this. They'll just tell you like, yeah, you did this with Venezuela. Shut up. That type of way. But in the end, you can't really defend like to release Maduro. Like you're the one who increased the bounty yourself.
Democrats have done a complete 180 and are profusely opposing this till they're red in the face. The common regurgitated nothing burger I've been seeing circulating social media is you can be opposed to Nicolas Maduro and also be opposed to what Donald Trump did. And the only reason Democrats could allow themselves to say something so embarrassing and meaningless and vapid is because it encapsulates their entire identity. Performative virtue signaling. They avoid
Okay, no, it's not true. First of all, on principle, you can argue like I'm doing. okay, if you're trying to get at a target, let's just say you have an end goal of that. How you get to that end goal, the path you took matters. So you can argue like, okay, the way they did it, maybe that's not good for future geopolitical reasons. You can argue that. But at the same time, you can also say like, yeah, at least Maduro got caught. That's good. So there is kind of truth there, right? That's not like a meaningless thing. But how, like the way Democrats argue, the way he's saying like, okay, release him, that's just weird. Why would you argue that?
Having to actually solve problems and instead just condemn problems, because then they can just pat themselves on the back for being a good person who stands against a bad thing. They would rather have Venezuelans perpetually suffer than Donald Trump liberate them, because it forces them to acknowledge their own incompetence. And all this coming from the party who brags about their empathy, but refuse to empathize with actual Venezuelans who lived under this tyranny because it contradicts their sense of moral and intellectual superiority. And that's how you get a clip like this out of Times Square, where a bunch of elitist white socialists are browbeating Venezuelans on why they're wrong for being happy about Maduro getting arrested.
Thank you, Mr. President Donald Trump. Thank you. Maduro exporta coca. Maduro narcotraficante. Venezuela libre. Regresen, que en Estados Unidos no lo quieren. Regresen, que Trump no lo quiere. Regresen, que Trump no lo quiere.
Democrats are going to lose the 2026 and 2028 elections and then pretend to be baffled as to why. This is why. You are a bunch of pretentious elitists who demand everybody submits to your distorted worldview because you simply think you know better than everybody. And one thing all Hispanics understand and sympathize with is narco dictators ruining their home countries. And you are...
I mean, when it comes to like drug cartels, is there anything more worse than that? Any accounts of what you hear of what drug cartels do? See, basically, this is, like organization who's like known to be really, really vicious. And imagine living in Venezuela when this is rampant, where your own military has ties to the cartel. The people who are supposed to give you stability and strength are the one, like at that time, cartel is the military, isn't it? Like, how you go around that shit?
Supporting and defending this guy and condemning the United States for removing him from power without losing a single American soldier or killing any Venezuelan casualties. That is the most righteous, just, and symbolic...
Okay, you confusing me. People told me that no US people died, but Venezuelan died. Now he's saying they didn't. What is happening?
Thing the United States could possibly do. This is the end result of Democrats committing to being the opposition party. You can only oppose common sense, humanity, rationality, and reason for so long before you inevitably offend and repulse every single demographic and voting bloc. But while...
To be fair, Republicans do the same thing. When Democrats do something, they'll instantly oppose it, even though they are the same person who argued for that in the past. There's many accounts of that.
We're in New York City.
This opposing mentality of United States parties is concerning. Like, two sides of things, and they will always oppose each other. It's a problem, man.
From newly elected socialist mayor Zoran Mdani about how he feels.
As well as other members of my team, I called the president and spoke with him directly to register my opposition to this act and to make clear that it was an opposition based on being opposed to a pursuit of regime change, to the violation of federal international law, and a desire to see that be consistent each and every day.
And what was his response to you in that conversation?
I registered my opposition, I made it clear, and we left it at that.
The socialist left has to...
I mean, what he said is not really wrong, the way he said it. I'm not really big on socialist in any way. Like, like capitalism with socialism light is where I think world should go towards. Like somewhat basic needs should be provided while capitalism is the main driver, obviously. But in the end of the day, like what he said is basically that like US should not go for regime change. This is what Republicans were screaming for. This is what Trump said when he came to power. Like, This is why he got out of, Afghanistan and all that, right? They were like ready to get out of Afghanistan. So Trump wanted to get out of Afghanistan. Then I think Biden get out of Afghanistan. But Trump wanted to do that. Trump wants to just walk away from everything. He's like, okay, why should we interfere in anyone else's business? We are not going to, handle anyone's country, a regime change, or do anything. So based on that, Republicans themselves want that. So what he said is basically that we shouldn't be involved in regime change or any kind of playing the kingmaker with other countries, which is Trump kind of doing that now, whatever the reasoning, right? He's literally saying I'm going to decide who's lead the Venezuelan country, which is weird. In the past, that has been the case, but nobody outright said it on front of media like Trump is doing. So, Mdani basically said that my opposition is not about Maduro, it's about regime change and violating laws and shit like that.
Ignore the tears of joy coming from the Venezuelan people because it's a direct attack on their socialist ideology. Venezuelans celebrating the arrest of an oppressive socialist dictator whose policies destroyed the wealthiest country in South America weakens their case for why socialism would be so beautiful here. They must arrogantly dismiss the stories of the terrors of socialism because it forces them to confront the flaws in their own ideology. But let's go to Portland.
Okay, socialism never fucking works. Why? If you let the socialism be the driver, there is no drive to do business for anyone. Imagine Bezos just says, fuck it, I like my yacht and I'm not going to do any expansion. Imagine if Bezos never expanded. Why would he expand if you're going to take 80% of his money? Socialism never works. Like I said, basic healthcare and slight socialism, you can what are this socialism, plus or democracy plus, what the fuck, who was the senator? I forget who basically proposed that, we should at least provide healthcare, free education, shit like that, socialism light. But full on socialism, that is ridiculous.
Home of Antifa, where they led a protest shouting, "Free, free Maduro." Can't make this
What?
up, watch. Hispanic voters are going to see this and be absolutely disgusted.
Look, man, again, there are layers to things. All I'm going to say is this. When you can argue at a geopolitical level that US shouldn't do this, that's a different thing. But in USA, for American citizens, your own government and your own military put out a bounty on someone and they captured him. You can't just claim let him go. Your justice system demands him to be arrested. That's why bounty was out in the first place. You can argue at a geopolitical level when you come outside of America and talk about globe as a whole thing and discuss at geopolitical level. Then you can argue should US do this, do this or not? Literally marching in streets saying let go of Maduro. Your government put bounty on him. He's wanted. What the fuck are you talking about? They're not going to let him go. It's surprised to me that anyone will even say that let Maduro go as an American citizen. You can argue the way they did it. You can argue that. You can't argue okay, should we, arrest him or not? You have a bounty out.
Disgusted. And well-to-do matcha-sipping liberals are going to lecture them about why they're too stupid to understand it's a bad thing, so instead just take their word for it. And I'm totally here for it. Go ahead, please. Keep digging yourself into a deeper hole. Please die on the hill of explaining to Hispanics why they should be mad that the biggest destabilizer in Latin America was arrested because Donald Trump did it. But
yeah, the fucked up thing about this is they probably will explain to those people you should want Maduro back. I'll tell you how you should feel. They'll do that.
Over in Little Somalia, aka Minneapolis, they held a protest saying, "Long live Hugo Chavez." The socialist dictator who took Venezuela from the wealthiest country in Latin America to the poorest.
Chavez made sure that millions of kids who never had access to education would. He did so by sometimes using the Venezuelan army to seize the property of U.S. companies. He seized the oil and used that money for the Venezuelan oil, nationalized the oil to pay for social services. The quality of life for the poor in Venezuela skyrocketed. And today, the U.S. empire bombed his grave. They want to destroy the memory of the hero Hugo Chavez. Viva Chavez!
Due to decades
What the fuck did I just see? What is wrong with you? Not you, the viewer. Some people in your country. What is happening? Is it something in your water? How can you ignore 90% of certain, like, there are nuance to things. Let's just see it as like a cake. There are layers of cake. 90% of the cake, these people ignore and only focus on 10%. This is selectivism, right? You basically, okay, Chavez did this. Yeah, but okay, let's think about it, how he did it. Is it attainable? Morally, let's discuss that. Legally, let's discuss that. Does it fall anywhere? What is wrong with you? You know what fucked up thing about this? People could probably find positive things into Hitler. That day is coming. I'm just telling you right now. That day is coming where these people will quote certain things. Oh, Hitler made Autobahn. Oh, okay, let's clap that. We love vehicles. We love cars. We're car enthusiasts, and there you go. What is wrong with you?
of Marxist indoctrination. The left thinks socialism is a utopian, altruistic, humane ideology and thus the foundation for their identity. They are compassionate and just people, and socialism represents prosperity for all, not just the wealthiest few. And even in the face of actual Venezuelans celebrating the end of that ideology, some white liberal guy in Minneapolis is screaming, "Long live the person who ruined their entire country." I promise you, Democrats.
Okay, Minneapolis, Minnesota, right? I didn't know Minnesota was like that left. I thought in that area of your country is probably going to be, red state, Republican or something. I didn't know this. Oh, okay, that's weird.
If you're watching this video, Hispanics are not going to forgive you for this. They may not love how Trump is handling deportations. They may find it harsh, but they don't find it unreasonable. They all understand immigration law as a concept, and they understand Donald Trump is just enforcing immigration laws. They might not like how he's going about it. They might not like the intensity of it, but you guys screaming, "Long live Hugo Chavez and free Nicolas Maduro," is something they don't understand at all. They think you are insane psychopaths and rightfully think you are trying to import the policies and values of Nicolas Maduro to the United States.
Would you trade Trump for Maduro?
Yeah. I mean, I think Trump, I think Maduro was democratically elected.
Probably, yeah. Sure.
More than likely, yes, of course.
If there's a Nicolas Maduro.
Okay, come on. What the fuck is wrong with you? You would, first of all, let's ignore many layers of it. How the fuck would Maduro run the United States? You cannot, okay, you don't like Trump, that's great. But at least you have to admit Maduro probably would be much worse as a leader of the United States.
Maduro out here who's going to bring us to revolution, I will support that movement.
I would rather have a bus driver in charge than a billionaire.
What the fuck?
Okay, let's put it that way.
Nicolas Maduro could come and be our president? Yeah. Oh, any day. Any day. Look, all the check marks are there.
A dog could be our president.
Okay, he's a minority. Okay. He looks a little too much like...
Okay, DEI still doesn't make sense to me. At a level, at the core, I understood it once. Like, okay, if the cycle is, okay, select few people gets the opportunities, they'll make sure that kids get the opportunity, and the cycle just repeats. They're a part of the society who will never get the opportunity. So making a slight, help to give subsidies or some shit, that made sense. Oh, by the way, no white people, it should always... What is this shit? You're gonna solve racism with racism? That's gonna work. There's a reason why Gandhi was like peaceful and not I'm gonna stab people because they stab us. If India went to war with Britain back then, India would have lost. They did in a few decades ago. Before that, So peaceful was like proper way of doing it. There is a way to do things, and there are wrong ways.
Saddam Hussein, though.
They see that the left wants totalitarian government control, just like in Venezuela, and that you would rather see tens of millions of Venezuelans continue to suffer than see Donald Trump save the day. Let's watch this clip from Chris Van Hollen, the senator who went to El Salvador to sip margaritas with Kilmar Abrego Garcia back in 2024, condemning Maduro for stealing the election. And then we'll look at his tweet from yesterday, and you guys tell me if you see a bit of a contradiction.
Well, we stand with the Venezuelan people who overwhelmingly, it turns out, voted for Gonzalez and against Maduro. This is why many of us called immediately for transparency, for the government regime to release the results. And there's a reason, Jose, that they hid those results, because we now know, because we've seen results that were released by some of the opposition figures from about 80% of the polling places, that Gonzalez has, won comfortably here. And so this is clearly an effort to deny the will of the people. Maduro lost, right? He is trying to cling on to this claim of legitimacy that he won when all the evidence shows otherwise. So this is why Secretary Blinken did, in my view, the right thing, recognizing the real winner here, Gonzalez. And this is why the United States is now going to use its levers and influence to push for a negotiation, to have a transition to the truly elected leader, Gonzalez. Now, obviously, we know Maduro and his cronies do not want to go quietly into the night, but the United States needs to work with our partners and allies in the region to ratchet up the pressure on behalf of the Venezuelan people.
Yeah, to shame him into submission. What the fuck are you talking about? Okay, this is what people were telling me in the comments, that he clearly lost. And even Democrats, this is 2024, so Democrat Party themselves are saying we know this.
So like I said in the onset of this video, in 2024, every Democrat was calling for Nicolas Maduro to be removed from power. Nicolas Maduro was designated as a national security threat in 2015 under Barack Obama. But now that the problem's been solved in the most flawless way possible, this is the tweet we got from Chris Van Hollen. Trump and his cronies can try to dress this up, but it's an illegal act of war to replace Maduro and grab Venezuela's oil for his billionaire.
Okay, his point is basically we should do this, but not this way. This will just do, war, do harsh regime change, and that will just hurt geopolitics. I guess that's what he's trying to argue here. But yeah, that's the only way he can argue. See, the thing with Democrats are, usually they don't point talking about people in power, not the idiots in the streets. People in power usually try to find a loophole to argue. They're not going to point blank say something opposite, because people can just you said this in 2024. So Democrats, that CNN mentality, omitting something and not actually lying, but creating a picture that's clearly a lie.
Buddies. Let's read a bit from his full statement. Maduro is a dictator, but his regime did not pose the immediate threat necessary to warrant U.S. military action on foreign soil without congressional approval. This is not about demolishing a dictatorship, as we've seen Trump cozy up to dictators around the world. This is about trying to grab Venezuela's oil for Trump's billionaire buddies. Congress must not abdicate its constitutional authority and allow control of the world's most powerful military to fall into just one set of hands. In 2019, they were saying Donald Trump not removing Maduro from power was proof that he was cozying up to dictators. He was a puppet of Vladimir Putin. No amount of evidence or common sense can cure these people's Trump derangement syndrome. They are a bunch of moral grandstanding, ineffective weaklings who do absolutely nothing. nothing, virtue signaling about all the things they stand against and condemn and doing nothing to fix it. And last but not least, we got a wine-drunk tweet from Kamala Harris. Donald Trump's actions in Venezuela do not make America safer, stronger, or more affordable. Well, coincidentally, Donald Trump's actions...
Again, you can argue on morality, like I was saying in previous reactions, like, you know, people can argue at geopolitical level. Let's see from American side and what pros are for you people. Yeah, oil is much bigger pro. Kinda safer because you show strength, you projecting strength, like fuck you, I can do this. Everybody stay in your line. I don't see any element of this that might not, that might look like a minus for Americans. It's just, power projection, oil, it's like all plus there. So I don't know what the fuck these people are talking about, like what Kamala is talking about there, but yeah. You can argue at geopolitical level, you can argue at morality level, but profit level, yeah, this is just, America never does anything that's not profitable. So that's not even a question.
In Venezuela did indeed make America safer, stronger, and more affordable. But I digress. That Maduro is a brutal, illegitimate dictator does not change the fact that this action was both unlawful and unwise. We've seen this movie before. Wars for regime change or oil that are sold as strength but turn into chaos, and American families pay the price. The American people do not want this, and they are tired of being lied to. This is not about drugs or democracy. It is about oil and Donald Trump's desire to play the regional strongman. If he cared about either, he wouldn't pardon a convicted drug trafficker or sideline Venezuela's legitimate opposition while pursuing deals with Maduro's cronies. The president is putting troops at risk, spending billions, destabilizing a region, and offering no legal authority, no exit plan, and no benefit at home. America needs leadership whose priorities are lowering costs for working families, enforcing the rule of law, strengthening allies, and most importantly, putting the American people first. Does this woman not remember what her and Joe Biden did during the last 4 years? They are just empty suit robots that regurgitate whatever focused group talking point or narrative they think resonates.
I mean, you can see certain points in there when it comes to unlawfulness and shit like that, the way to do it. You can make argument there, obviously, but there's also an argument of like at which point you do something, right? I don't know what to say or think here. Like this, it's just like hindsight. We'll see what happens. History could be kind or not, right? But there is a time where you have to do something, right? I don't know. I think in the end of the day, it's very simple. The Maduro literally puffed up his chest and said, Trump, fuck you. So yeah, Trump said, fuck you back. This is all there is to it. Beyond that, it's just badass. That's it. Any more than thinking, like, I think we are putting more thought than people who are involved did. So, yeah.
The most at the moment. Like we went over this before in Iran. The president doesn't need congressional approval to launch a military strike. He has to notify the Congress within 48 hours after the attack, which he did. He held a press conference.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. In order to do proper war, like, we are at war with Iran. Yeah, he needs congressional approval. Do special military operation. That's the new word for the decade. Yeah, he doesn't. I don't think he needs approval. Like, that's legality there.
And he has done nothing differently than what Joe Biden has done, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton. But they're just playing part.
They never did any of this. What you talking about? They never capture somebody from their own country. What?
In politics, but this time they're unforgivably insulting and offending one of their most important voting blocks, the entire Hispanic vote, and they are going to pay the price for that. But let me know what you...
I mean, how many Venezuelans are in the USA? That's the thing, right? And what do they feel about? Obviously, a lot of them are happy. A lot of people in Venezuela is probably happy. And the way I see, it's clear cut that Maduro was not the legal guy. Every time he opens his mouth, I'm like, yeah, something's not right here. So yeah, I don't even need to like study to know that. But now it's kind of like, yeah, clear cut. Like he was not the legal man. Yes, overwhelming comments in my previous reactions. Like there are like hundreds of comments. Most of them are like Maduro wasn't legal. So like you can't really argue. Okay, you can argue how Trump did it. And this will fall back at a level. It might be problematic at geopolitical level. 10 years from now on, 15 years from now on, maybe. But you can't really talk about like we shouldn't have captured Maduro. Even though that is the main thing your country has been doing, whether Democrat or Republican. Joe Biden himself increased the bounty. What you talking about? So, release Maduro? What stupidity is that? Well, there you go. If you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe. If you want me to do any other reactions, comment down. I'll see you next time.